Hi, 6th graders. I know you've already watched the video on Smiley Face Tricks Expanded Moment. If you haven't, you need to do that before you see this video. That teacher did a great job of giving you her definition of what an expanded moment is and why writers do it. So I hope that you wrote those down. And she gave us, I believe, 3 examples of that trick. This one's my favorite. And I know that these are long, but of course it's in the title, right? It's expanded. You're expanding the happiest moment, the saddest moment. You're picking an emotion that you really want the reader to understand and to feel. And you're going to describe it every detail. I love this example because it kind of switches and it shows two different feelings. As you guys watch, first she's nostalgic for her class, her old class, and then she starts to feel sad and a little despondent on where her life is going. And she compares those, like she said, so this person happens to use figurative language in there. And she uses a metaphor. Her life now felt like Mrs. Potts' moccasins. The strings were broken, and how would she ever put it back together? So I'm going to show you again. Let's go over here. When you guys do your trick, or I'm sorry, when you use this trick to write your example, you're going to choose one of these emotions. It can be a different one. We're going to look at Anne's excerpt from today's reading as well, and I think hers is a little bit different. Hers might be excited, anticipatory. She has a feeling of anticipation. So think about what you want to convey. Maybe you can do a race that you did or a sports game where either your team lost or they won and you saw the whole thing happening. It could be maybe the moment you found out school was going to be closed for the rest of the school year. It could be riding a roller coaster that you didn't want to ride, and you talk about every single thing that you're feeling and what you're seeing and that you want to throw up. So you want to take a small 5-minute period perhaps and stretch it out. And it's very effective. Again, you don't do it all the time, but you do it for effect. So it's going to be once or twice in your writing. So let's go to Anne's example. I tried to make this bigger, but it just didn't work out very well. So you can pause it and look at it, or you can use your book. It's page 211, and yes, I know it's that scene where she finally gets her kiss from Peter, but she is very good at expanded moments. She may be too good at expanded moments, as she's a very detailed writer. Sometimes you might say she explains things too much. So we know exactly what she's feeling and how she's feeling. So this whole 2 paragraphs is leading up to a very quick kiss on the cheek. All she had to say was, he kissed me on the cheek, but she describes what's going on. That they stood close together. She's saying where he put his arm, where she put her arm. That he didn't rest until her head was on his shoulder and against his. And then she gives us a time frame, so that position landed for 5 minutes. And then they're still just close to one another. And it was so lovely, she says, that she couldn't talk. The joy was too great. Now, the narrator that reads this does a great job. You can feel the anticipation in her reading. And if you're reading it on your own, hopefully you felt that in Anne's writing. She just goes step by step how she feels. She couldn't talk because it was too great. He had touched her cheek, and she explains it a bit awkwardly. He touched her hair, and she was too happy for words, which is odd for Anne because she always has words. And so she just keeps going. So I think this is a great example of an expanded moment, and it's exciting for her. I'm going to show you guys my example. I've shared with you some of you this story. I went to a Riverside Christian Day School. Now it's Riverside or Woodcrest Christian School, but it used to be Riverside Christian Day School. And I went from a smaller Christian school to this school between 3rd and 4th grade, and the rules were really different. And I got caught unaware of one of those rules the very first day of school that I remember to this day. and I was very embarrassed. So if you guys remember that, this is what I'm writing about. And if not, you're going to get a very detailed explanation of it. Now, I also use some other magic, smiley face tricks. One of them being Magic 3. So I'm hoping that you guys can, let's see, that you guys can see those. I don't know why it's not stretching out. So let me fix this real quick. Actually, I'm going to change my margins, make them a little bit bigger, so they'll all fit in the box. Sorry about that. I'm going to make it 2 inches. Actually, let me do it 2 on the sides. Okay, let's see. Alright, so I apologize about that. I don't know why it won't let me resize it. Alright. I was nervous about eating lunch that first day at my new school. I already see a typo, and I read it several times. So let me go back and say that I have an idiom in there, I have figurative language, I do the Magic 3, and I try and use repetition. So there's more, there's those smiley face tricks within a smiley face trick, so hopefully you guys can see those. I was nervous about eating lunch that first day at my new school, but I felt a flood of relief when I saw an old friend from my previous school. I felt 1,000,000 times better. After I walked into the cafeteria, I didn't have one at my old school. I looked around. It was filled with students, but was very orderly. There were long tables with students on either side and a teacher at the head of each table. I scanned the room quickly, found my friend sitting at a table with her class, and I slowly walked toward her. I'm going to add a comma right there. I didn't want to draw too much attention to myself as the new kid. I sat next to her and began to eat my lunch. As we were talking, the kids around me got quiet and started looking at me. It was clear that I had done something wrong, but I didn't know what. Did I have a booger in my nose? Did I have food on my face? Did my breath smell bad? Was it that obvious that I was new? Slowly my face began to grow warm as my friend's teacher was walking toward me. I wanted to disappear, but I knew she was coming to talk to me. I didn't know her either, since I was new and not in her class. She politely told me that I was not allowed to sit with her class since I was in the other 4th grade class, and I had to leave and go sit with my class. She was nice enough, but I was mortified, completely mortified. Everyone in the 4th grade was looking at me. I had to pack up my lunch and walk back like a dog with its tail between its legs after its owner reprimands it, to my class with kids I didn't know, and finish eating alone, hoping no one would see me tearing up. To this day, 30 years later, I have never forgotten how mortified I felt. So I repeated the word mortified 3 times, and hopefully you guys got the overall feeling that I am embarrassed. I remember this from when I was, I think I was 9 at this time. And I didn't know that you had to only sit with your class. And so I stood out. Everybody knew, even though I was just a kid. It's not like I was a 6th grader sitting at the 1st grade table or a kindergartner sitting at the 4th grade table. I was just a 4th grader, but that was against the rules. So mortified is the word that I use to repetition. Up here when I said I felt 1,000,000 times better. Do you guys remember which figurative language that is? That is hyperbole. I felt a flood of relief. That would be an idiom. I wasn't flooded with water, but I felt a huge amount of relief. And then down here is a Magic 3 sentence. I have 3 verbs. I think I even have 4. I had to pack up my lunch and walk back, so I have pack and walk, like a dog with its tail between its legs after its owner reprimands it. So there's another figurative language. There's a simile. So I had to pack up my lunch. Let's see. I had to pack up my lunch. I had to walk back to my class with kids I didn't know and finish eating alone, hoping no one would see me tearing up. So I actually have 4 in there, so it could be a magic 3 sentence. And then I sum it up with, to this day, I've never forgotten how mortified I felt. So this is more than I'm expecting from you. Once I started going, I couldn't stop. So think of an event, and it doesn't have to be something you've gone through, but that was easier for me instead of having to make up something that I hadn't been through. So you don't have to tell me when you do it if it's actually happened to you. If you can, if you want. What I suggest is that many of you did this without even knowing it for your personal narrative. You told me something scary that happened to you, something painful that happened to you, something really memorable. So think about what you wrote for your personal narrative. A lot of you guys wrote about injuries. Many of them involved trampolines. So think back, and you can add details that weren't there. If it makes the writing better, that's fine. I'm not, going to ask you if everything happened. It's not that kind of assignment. It is a creative writing assignment. So you can use that as a starting point, and you can add on to it. And again, it can be totally made up. It can be based on your life, or a combination of the two. So that was my example. So what you're going to turn in to me is a copy of the notes. And again, the notes were just the definition, why writers use expanded moments, and then if you want to use that little graphic organizer with, let me show you. It looks like this.
So now it's your...
Sorry about that. You could write that down. And then definitely I want your example. It does not have to be as long as mine. Okay. And if I can share it, let me know. You guys have been doing an amazing job writing. So if I can share your expanded moment, please let me know. All right, you guys have a blessed day. And I may have already just seen you on Zoom, or I may see you on Zoom soon. All right, have a great night.